Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm really happy to have you here with me today. Today we are going to make a recipe that I have been wanting to make for a couple of months now, and that is Italian rainbow cookies. These just look absolutely delicious, and I know my kids are going to love them. And one of the things I've been trying to do recently is to just do things in the kitchen purely for the fun of it, not because there's a holiday or I have company coming over or anything like that, just to make cooking in the kitchen a little bit more fun. This recipe definitely hits the fun element. It is a beautiful recipe, one that I've never made before. There's a couple of different steps to it that each of those steps I haven't done before, so it's going to be a little bit of an adventure, but I'm really looking forward to it. This recipe does have some chilling time, so during that period we are going to head outside, do a little bit of planting in the greenhouse. I'm starting to harden off some seedlings, so I'll share that process with you, and I'll also catch you up on what Dan has been doing outside on the farm over the last week. But first, this recipe is going to take some time, so let's get right into it. The first thing that we're going to do is blanch some almonds because we need to make some almond paste. Apparently you can buy almond paste at the store, but it's super easy to make, so I decided I would just make it myself. The first thing that we have to do is blanch some almonds though, because I don't have any blanched almonds. So I have some boiling water here, and we're just going to pour that right on top of our almonds and let them sit for just a minute or two. So the purpose of blanching our almonds is to be able to peel the skin off. So they come off really easily. This is very similar to blanching anything, blanching tomatoes for canning, peaches for canning, anything like that. So we're going to need 1.5 cups of icing sugar or powdered sugar for this recipe, 1.5 cups of our blanched almonds, 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon of almond extract. That is, if you want to add the almond extract, you can omit it if you want to, and 1 egg white. Gonna keep a little bit of water on these guys just to keep those skins soft while I'm peeling these ones. And you can of course buy your almonds blanched. I just didn't have any blanched almonds, but I did have some unblanched almonds, some just raw ones. I just love the smell of almonds so much. Smells so good. Now we just have the skins left. Now we'll do our second batch. A little bit longer time. Definitely made them peel off faster and better. So maybe blanch them for like closer to 5 minutes. Really excited right now because if you remember, probably 3 weeks ago now, I asked in a post about whether you had any canning questions, and I got so many questions. I did the same thing over on Instagram, collected up all those questions, and then I've been putting together over the last few weeks a canning guide where I try to answer all of those questions. So we are going to be sharing that with you next week, I think, and for a while at least we'll be able to offer it as a free resource for you, which I love to be able to do. And then we're also going to be doing a live Zoom call. I love doing lives over Zoom just because I get to be able to see your faces too, so it's really fun. So we're going to do a live Zoom Q&A a couple of days after we share the guide with you, and then you'll be able to come on and ask me any questions that either weren't answered in the guide or troubleshoot any issues you may be having with your canning. I'm so excited about it because, as you know, I absolutely love to can. Usually each year I can around 1,000 jars of preserves for my pantry. Last year I think it was closer to 1,200, so I really love canning. And I was thinking about it this morning that I have been canning for 27 years, just about every single year, and independently. And then when I was a kid, I canned with my mom. My mom was my initiator into the wonderful world of canning, and she taught me how to can. So by the time I was 18, 19 years old and on my own, I had all the skills to be able to can, which was a huge blessing. And even after that long of canning, pretty much my entire life, I still love it just as much as I did when I first started. And so we have rhubarb and asparagus that are going to be coming up in the garden and being ready. The rhubarb is starting to come up now. We'll be able to be harvested in a few weeks, and I'm going to be able to start officially the 2024 canning season. Although I did do more canning this winter than I usually do. Normally I'm a seasonal canner. I can from starting in a few weeks all the way until around the end of October, and then I take a break over the winter, just because by then I'm definitely needing a break. But this year I had some things that needed to be canned, so I did a little bit more canning than usual this winter, which I actually didn't mind that much. But I am excited to get into canning some fresh stuff. I did mostly beans and meat over the winter time because of course we don't have any fruit in season up here in the winter. So we have all of our almonds blanched and peeled. And now we're going to add around half of our powdered sugar into our food processor here, and we're going to mix these up until they're fairly finely ground. We don't want this to turn into almond butter. Keep an eye on it. The sugar should help prevent that. Okay, there we go. Let me show you. It's nice and finely mixed now. So now we're going to add the rest of our icing sugar. I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of almond extract. So now it's super finely ground, so I'm just pushing down the sides a little bit. Oh man, I could just eat just that. It smells so good. And now we're going to add in our egg white. Here, let me show you. It's starting to come together a little bit. You can see that. Alrighty, we have our almond paste. Look at how perfect that looks. Easy peasy. I'm going to have to make some other recipe with this because I actually only need 8 ounces for the Italian rainbow cookies that I'm going to make. Look at that. That's awesome. Okay, now we're going to get the rest of our stuff together for actually making our cake. So we need 8 ounces of this. So I'm just gonna eyeball that. You can freeze the almond paste for what you have left over. This calls for 8 ounces. I'm gonna call that 8 ounces of our almond paste into there, maybe just a little bit more. Oh my gosh, that smells good. 1 cup of sugar and 1 stick of unsalted butter. Whoa! On low. So now that this has mixed until it is lump free, we're gonna add 2 more sticks of butter. And you do wanna make sure that your butter is softened. Okay, so now that we've scraped our sides down, we're gonna start it up again and add 4 egg yolks, 2 teaspoons of almond extract, and 1/4 cup of milk. Now we're going to add 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour. And in a separate bowl, we're going to take our 4 egg whites and mix these up until they form stiff peaks. And then we'll fold that into our cake batter over here. So we have nice stiff whites now. We're going to fold those into our cake batter. We got some rain last night and it greened everything up so beautifully outside. Okay, I'm gonna call that folded in. I do not know how this is going to possibly be enough for 3 sheet pans, but we'll try our best. So we have to dye this in order for it to be authentic. It needs to be pink, kind of reddish pink, white, and then green. But I like to avoid using food coloring when I can. So I have a couple of things that I think I can use to dye this with. Cherry juice, cherry and almonds tastes really good together. So even if it flavors it a little bit, I think it'll be just fine. And then I have some matcha tea powder. So I'm gonna use that for the green. We'll start with around half a teaspoon or so. I think that's going to work. So So this isn't going to be the vibrant green that food color ring would give it, that's for sure, but we'll make it greenish. Just want the layers to be distinct. There's our greenish one. I don't want to put too much of the matcha in there because I don't want to flavor it with that. It's very, very, very slightly pinkish. We're gonna call that good though, because again, I don't want to flavor it up too much. And then we have our white. Well, these are distinctly different, so that's good. So this is definitely not enough batter to fit this entire pan, but I'm going to try to make it work because I don't have any smaller cookie sheets than these. So we're just gonna call that good. All right, last up. Now we're gonna pop these in the oven for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so our cakes are done. I just have them chilling. They have to cool until they're completely cool before we can do the next step. So I'll show you that. The good news is they didn't spread in the pans, which is what I was worried about. They worked perfectly fine. So I can hear Dan before we head down to the greenhouse. Let's go see what he's doing. I hear machines. I'm just gonna grab my quad and go up that way. I think it'll be much faster. Oh, darn it. Sprinkler's been sprinkling my quad. We try to keep the area that's right around where all our buildings are really green because we live smack in the middle of a forest fire zone, and that helps to give us a little bit of a buffer between us and the forests. So what Dan's doing here is clearing this whole big area to create a landing place for all of the logs to get stacked and the logging trucks to be able to come up and load from here. So let me show you what else he's been up to. So do you remember the big hole we had here for our gravel pit? So Dan filled in that hole because we wanted to get the gravel that was further back where you can see the loader up there. We wanted to get all that gravel, so he had to create another landing spot up there. The stuff is super time consuming, but so worth it because he has been able to gravel this whole road that we just came up on with the gravel from our own gravel pit, which is incredible. I've shared this story before, but I'll share it again for those that are new. I was out hiking with the kids one summer, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. So as we were climbing up this area, I noticed that there was some gravel when I kicked the ground. So I dug down a little bit with my hands and told Dan about it. And he came up here with the machine and dug down and found gravel, which is incredible when you live in an area like we do, where the mud can be a foot or two deep in the summertime or in the spring. Gravel is basically as good as gold. So we'll head back down to the greenhouse and plant some more seeds, and I'll show you what I have coming up in there. I am so proud of Dan with this job because this is a huge job, and Dan has a lot of mechanical ability, obviously, but he has never built a road or anything like this before, so pretty impressed. We're going to have some more rain, which is just absolutely fantastic. Okay, so what's been happening in the garden is top dressing with some fresh compost, and I have decided that I am going to use the weed barrier on this bed as well because these two beds had a lot of quack grass in them. So I'm gonna use the weed barrier on that. And then over here, I have some seedlings out getting hardened off. Whoa, steamed up. Okay, so I'm just gonna stick my heaters up because some things need some water. And I'll put my fan on, but I'll wait until we're finished in here so we don't have to listen to it. Okay, so we have to plant, put them in my pocket somewhere. Where did I put them? Aha. So we're going to plant some of these. These were sent to me by Rhonda. Thank you so much, Rhonda. She also sent me a recipe for a summer squash casserole that I'll be trying, but these are yellow crookneck squash. So we're gonna plant a couple of these. I got all of my squash planted 5 days ago, 6 days ago now, and they're starting to come up. Let me show you. Got some butternuts coming up. We have the Tiana butternut, Burgess buttercup, Victory, Buttercup. Got a cue ball down there. Green Hubbard. Socrates. So the Socrates are a slicing cucumber. This one's a mystery squash that I stuck in there. We have the Far North melons coming up, which is very exciting. And then we have corn. Hi, Alex. How are you? And I can't remember if we planted the corn together in my last video or not. Needless to say, I have planted corn. So all these are corn. Those are corn back there. Corn, 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 and more corn all coming up. We have our pickling cucumbers. Good germination so far. Hopefully these last few will pop up. Sunflowers. And I've shown you this before, but I have to show you again because it just gets more and more beautiful. Look at those leaves. Look at the variegation on those. Isn't that beautiful? So this one is Marina's Praise from my friend Ash at Moonglow Farms. Is the name of her farm. Okay, I'm just gonna go grab my sprayer and we're going to give everything a water. Oh, I need to do some more trimming here. I did top my Cosmos, but I definitely missed a bunch. Oh, my daughter's gonna be so excited. The cucamelons are coming up. Let's give these guys a quick snip here. So I'm just cutting above the third leaves. Actually, you know what I'm gonna try doing? So somebody suggested this over on Instagram, just trying to root these tops, and I looked it up online and it can be done. Let's see if we can root a few of these rather than having them go to waste. Get some more early ones. So the reason that I'm topping these is because I started these really early so I would get some early blooms in the garden, but I still can't plant them out for another couple weeks, which means they're going to be about yay tall and start falling over. So I'm cutting them off so that it will slow them down a little bit, but it'll also make a bushier plant. This is a perfect example right here. Because you can see I cut off the top and then we have all these side branches here that are also going to have blooms on them. So on Cosmos, those side branches will come out anyway, but this does encourage them to move ahead a little bit faster. This sprayer is my favorite sprayer for greenhouses. I got this one from West Coast Seeds, but I'm sure you can find these all over the place, but it just has an articulating head, so that you can have it facing down like that when you're going to water upper shelves like I have to do here. So let's talk about hardening off your seedlings. So inside of a house, indoors, in a greenhouse, anything like that, your plants are protected from the UV rays of the sun. And if you were to go take these little sensitive seedlings and plunk them outside right into the sun, even if it was a cloudy day, you would end up scalding the leaves. And I can show you an example of that because I did put my strawberries out. Didn't do a great job hardening them off. So I can show you what that looks like. If I only had a few trays of seedlings, I would actually start moving them outside right at the point that they germinated, as long as it was warm enough so that I didn't have to worry about hardening them off. And I would keep them out during the day on warm days and just bring them inside at night when there was still a risk of frost. But with so many seedlings like I have, that's not really super practical. So I have to harden mine off. And that process usually takes a week to 2 weeks, depending on the weather. I did a blog post where I really spelled out all the steps, and I'll put a link to that down in the show notes for you so you can go and check that out if you want more information. But basically the long and the short of it is you want to, over a couple of weeks time, you want to expose your seedlings to light, to the natural sunlight, in kind of increments. So you want to start by exposing them to just an hour or so a day. And the reason I like using the north side of my greenhouse is because it only gets a little bit of sunlight in the early morning. And then by the time the sun is really hot around noon, it is shaded. So I keep them there for a couple of days, like you just saw, and then I move them out further and further into the sun until they're out in the sun full time. So I'm starting now with the cool crops, so anything in the brassica family, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, so some of my herbs are all getting hardened off now. I do want to start hardening off my flowers too, but I was lazy the last couple days and I didn't want to take all of these out. I do want to get all of these snapdragons out because the snapdragons are actually fairly frost hardy, so they can go out. They could probably go out next week. So I do want to start taking these out. Maybe I'll do that later. Okay, this is going to take me a little bit, so I will be back with you when I'm done here. Okay, I have this old kind of ratty planter here that I'm just not quite ready to let go of yet. So I am going to give this a water and make something pretty out of something ugly. I'm going to put that in the back of this, and then into there I'm going to plant some sweet peas that I started. So we're going to put sweet peas across the back of this, and then some nasturtiums across the front. Look at those roots. And then in the front here, we will pack in some beautiful nasturtiums. These nasturtiums are going to grow quite robustly, so we'll just add 4 in here. Whoops. This will look just lovely in a month or 2. So there, I'm gonna take something ugly and we'll turn it into something beautiful. So this is what a scalded or sunburned leaf looks like. You can see that this is a strawberry leaf. So the brown part there has been burned. And if you were to say put a pepper plant like this out into the sun, it would completely kill it without hardening it off. Fortunately for me, I don't have to harden off my peppers or to my tomatoes because they are going to go down into my high tunnel from here. So they're not going to need a transitionary period, although I have tons of other stuff that does. I have all my celery there, lots of lettuce, all of my flowers, my snapdragons, my cosmos, some more herbs, whole bunch of stuff. Okay, let's plant some crookneck squash. So we'll plant 2 seeds in here. Thank you to everyone who has sent me seeds over the years. I really, really appreciate it. I know I don't always get an opportunity to say thank you here on video, but please do know how much I appreciate it. Okay, we've got our crooknecks in here, and I'm going to remember, of course, that the crooknecks were the one in the plastic container. I'm going to stick it back there. And now we're going to go inside because I'm sure our cakes are ready to assemble now. Alrighty, our little cakes are done now. And as you can see, they didn't spread very much at all, which is fantastic. So now we get the fun part of kind of assembling this. Okay, so we're going to take our green one here and put it down on there, and then we're going to cover it with some raspberry jam. And we are going to take our white one. I think I'm just going to clean that up a little bit, just the edges of it. These are a little bit frozen because I had them in the freezer to chill. So now we'll take this and put it on top of this, like so, and then more jam. And our last one, that's supposed to be pink, but isn't. I'm gonna put this one upside down just because this top is nice and smooth, and we'll trim this rough edge off. Okay, so now what we're told to do is to take a piece of parchment paper and put it on the top. Take one of our cookie sheets and put it on the top of that. So we need to put a weight on the top of this, so I'm actually going to put an actual weight on the top of it, probably a 5-pound weight or something like that. And then it has to go into the fridge for 4 hours. So I'll see you back here in 4 hours. All right, we have our cake here, and I have taken the weight off. So it is pushed down the way that it is supposed to be. And I have just melted some chocolate over here. So these are just semi-sweet chocolate chips that I melted in a glass bowl over some boiling water. And we are supposed to use half of this on this part. Okay, now we have to let this set again so we can flip it over and do the other side. Okay, so we have it chilled now. So now we're gonna flip the whole thing over and do the top. Okay, let's top it off with the rest of our chocolate. I think this is going to turn out great. Okay, now we're going to do a little patterning in this. The ones online had this kind of swirly pattern, so I thought maybe I could use my pickle cutter to do this. That worked perfectly, except not quite at the top. That is gonna have to do it. You see the little swirly lines in there. So, whoops. So now we're gonna chill it again. Okay, it's the moment of truth. So apparently we're supposed to trim off the sides. Oh, that's gonna break. Maybe we should trim it on this side first. Because the top was hanging over a bit on this, so we'll... And then we can save these little bits because they look yummy. So we're supposed to cut these into fairly small pieces. So I'm just going to map that out. You know, even though this was kind of an all-day thing, it wasn't really overly difficult. So let's just hope they taste good, because I think this would be a fun one to offer at the holidays. I could see this becoming a tradition, actually, like a Christmas one. So for you Italians out there, is this like a holiday kind of treat? I'm really happy with the way that turned out. I was kind of worried that I put too much weight on them and would squish them down too much, but those turned out great. Let's try to get the perfect one out of the middle. There we go. I love it. That's great. My kids are going to be home shortly, so let's wait and see what they think. Come tell me what you think.
Oh, this look.
Don't this look delicious?
My goodness.
His eyes just lit up.
You know those dark chocolate blueberry thingies?
Oh, the those little candies that Dad always gets me. What are those called? I can't remember, but
what they're called?
Like the dark chocolate with the berry on the inside.
Yeah.
That's what it tastes like.
It tastes like that mixed with.
Does it taste like marzipan? Do you think? Oh, like almond, like.
It's a combination of those three things.
So almond puff, marzipan, and those chocolate covered little candies. Okay, let's see what everyone else thinks. Your turn. Here, I'll give you this one. Yeah, tell me what you think. Good? Mm-hmm. What does it taste like to you? Yeah, they love it. So that's awesome. So far, 2 down. 2 think it's absolutely fantastic. I just think they're so pretty. It's just such a pretty little dessert. And with the rainbows, if you wanted to use food coloring, it would even be... I even think just plain like that, because you have the raspberry and the chocolate on the top and the bottom. I don't really think it needs the food coloring. I think it's beautiful just like that. Try that. Tell me what you think. Already you've hardly even taken a bite. It's already so good. So far it's a combination of all our favorite things. So I'd say that is a win. If you want to try out this recipe, I'd highly recommend it. Delicious, really pretty, and really not that complicated, all things considered. Just a lot of steps. One thing that I would suggest is that adding a little bit of coconut oil to the chocolate, just to help it set up a little bit more and not melt so easily in your fingers, because the chocolate on the top is kind of melting all over the kids' fingers. But other than that, I'd say this is pretty close to a perfect recipe. I hope you enjoyed today's video, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.